Hey everybody, it's about 9 o'clock in the morning on this Father's Day 2011 here in sunny, well, not so much, Southern California. We have kind of a June gloom marine layer stealing our sunshine today, but we're not going to let that bother us because today we are brewing a Bavarian Hefeweizen. Just want to go over the recipe first, and then we can go on to a little bit of the technique and how I'm going to be making this. First things first, we're using 6 pounds of wheat malt, 5 pounds of Pilsner, 1 pound of Munich, only 14 grams of Tettnanger, and the wonderful WLP 300 Hefeweizen ale yeast from Chris White at White Labs. I'm going to go over my equipment a little bit. Start with the brew kettle. I've got your basic keg brew kettle with the weldless kit down here. This is a pre-chiller. Have some ice in there later to cool down our water. Obviously the Whirlpool chiller, sort of Jamil's design, kind of. And the wonderful March 809 pump that just about everyone has these days. So yeah, let me get the water started and we'll get to it. So luckily for me, the water that comes out of my tap is extremely hot, almost 160 degrees, so saves a lot of propane when trying to heat up strike water. Alright, so for this recipe we're going to need about 4 gallons of water, just shy of 4 gallons. One of the first rules of brewing is when you're dumping out wash water from your equipment, make sure your feet are out of the way before you do it. So anyway, back to the brew day. I've got 3.75 gallons of water in here. Actually, it's 4.75, but my kettle has been designed to leave behind 1 gallon. And so that will be our strike water, or the temperature we're looking for is 169 degrees approximately. So thankfully my tap water is comes out at already about 160, so we won't have too much heating to do to get it up to proper temperature. One of the things I like to do before getting started, or while my strike water is heating up, is actually preheat my mash tun. This is my mash tun. It's just a basic 52 or 54 quart cooler. Built this copper manifold just from basic parts from your Home Depot. That's really it. If I pull this out, you can actually see the slits in the bottom there to allow for drainage through. So anyway, I'm going to throw some water in this thing and then let it heat up, and that way we don't have to worry about the mash tun cooling our grain off too much. So I mentioned earlier that my strike water temperature was 169. It's actually 165.9, and we've reached that temperature. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use the pump to transfer the strike water over to the mash tun. So we'll do that now. Yep, that tubing is hot. Just because you're a brewer doesn't make you smart. So we just stowed in, just took a temperature reading. It's just at about 154, which is our mash temperature. So I'm going to close this up and be back in about an hour and 15 minutes or so. I want to allow for full conversion of all the wheat malt that's in here. So we'll give this about an hour 15, and then it's time to sparge. Okay, so it's been an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm beginning to do my first runnings. It's looking pretty good. That pound of Munich definitely added some color. So we're going to go ahead and do the first runnings. I got my sparge water over here at about 165 degrees or so. So for those of you who haven't really made wheat beers before, usually your first wheat beer, if you go online and ask anybody, they'll tell you, oh, you got to add a bunch of rice hulls or have a thicker crush on your grain when you do wheat beers so that you don't end up with a stuck sparge. And right there on the surface, that gray mat of just sludge, that right there is the reason why you're going to want to add a little extra grist in order to help the sparge along, because that stuff is real sticky. It's basically just the decomposed wheat in there, and that's what actually gets caught in the pipe and stuck, and then you can't sparge. So just a visual on why it would be a good idea to do that. So we got the boil going. Going to be an hour and a half boil on this. Going to make our hop addition at 60 minutes. Single hop addition of 14 grams of Tettnanger. One of the nice things about boiling in one of these old kegs is that you really don't have to worry about it foaming over. At least when you're only brewing 5 gallons. 10 gallons is a different story, but with 5 gallons you can just let it foam away and you don't have to worry about it spilling over or reducing heat or anything like that. So when we get down to an hour, going to make my hop addition, and we'll go from there. So we've reached the 1 hour mark in the boil. According to our recipe, that means it's time to put in our 14 grams of hops. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And that's it, just one 60-minute addition, total of about 8.5 IBUs or so. So we'll let that boil away for about another hour, and then it'll be time to cool it off, and into the carboy it goes. Okay, so the boil's over, and now we're cooling down our wort. Got the recirculation going, the whirlpool. And right now we're at about 123 degrees or so. Once this gets down to about 80 degrees or so, I'm going to go ahead and add some ice into my pre-chiller, and that will enable me to get this down to pitching temperature, which is about 65 degrees. So as soon as that gets down there, we'll add the ice, and then we'll be pumping this into the carboy. So just got done oxygenating the wort. Did about 60 seconds of pure O2, and now it's ready to go into my fermentation chiller, which I made a video about a few days ago. I'm going to go ahead and give that fermentation chiller a try and see if that can keep the fermenting wort pretty steady over the course of about 3 days. And then make a video in another couple days or so, and while fermentation's really going, and show you guys how that's working out, if it's actually able to keep it at 67 or not. So look for that video, and I'll make an update then.